Hello, thanks for coming out. Do this. Despite the podium, this will be fairly informal. Feel free to ask questions throughout, interject, interrupt, whatever you see fit. I'm going to focus mainly on, I guess, as Katie was saying, the interactive works that I've kind of been focused on recently. I'll start with that. This is, by the way, Rollerball. Rollerball. Sorry, I'm not good at talking to microphones. 1975, James Caan, fantastic movie. Kind of an inspiration, just a slight image there. There's another one. I'll get back to that. So this was the first incarnation of the RecPod from the show I had last September at Oakland University. This piece at that time was called Make Love Not War. It was one of the supposed four horsemen of the apocalypse, but kind of the Zen reinterpretation of those horsemen. And what we did with that was, pardon me. It was essentially a kind of a ping pong vortex. It was playable, so there was activity at the opening, and it's envisioned as even then it was envisioned as a constantly shifting work, where that it can be reconfigured like it is here. At that opening, it was mostly ping pong. Here, it's been mostly a variety of dodgeball. But at Family Day, we had several invented games, which I'm all for. And in the future, I'm sure it'll have a different life. So it just kind of keeps metamorphosizing. Is that a word? Sounds good. I think this is this was kind of a result of. This piece, which I did for a show at Review Contemporary, waiting to load. Venue for advanced conflict resolution. So taking a ping pong table, implying play, this was fairly unplayable, but it was kind of a first step towards these other works. This piece here is definitely more playable, whereas the venue here is a little more of a exercise in futility, but kind of a fun one. A lot of the works recently have been kind of about personal space as well as play. So not just a prop for play, but also a prop for isolation in some ways from the world around us. We're becoming more and more connected, so the idea of personal space, I think, is more and more important to me as well. So from this, and then the RecPod, there was a few other pieces in the Oakland show that were participatory. This one is kind of a coffin hammock. That was also, you're able to get in, enjoy. It's our friend Bridget, acting dead. In addition to that, this piece, the Four Horsemen, this was a piece more for contemplation, removal from the world. So these all have a similar theme, which is the participation of the viewer, kind of completing the piece. And for me, that's, I think we all as artists kind of wonder who are we really making for? And for me specifically, I've made a lot of just object-based works in the past. And so if you're making objects, at least for me, I find that I'm making them, but then who am I? I'm gearing it to sell usually. I may be making for myself, but as an artist, you're making things to be seen. Hopefully you can make a living off of it, so ultimately you're making things to be sold, and who can buy? The privileged. And so in this way, the participatory works that I've been working on, I think it speaks more to the people as a whole and makes it easier for just everyday folks to enter the piece and engage with the piece and feel like they're a part of it. I guess it all started with Memory Field, which, as Katie mentioned, my wife and I completed this in 2010. It's in a park on the northeast corner of Detroit, 7 and Shaner. And so this is a 120-foot earth ripple, but it's meant to be a place for people to hang out. Again, it's communal. It's come, relax, enjoy. And I think that's kind of what the underlying theme of recent works has become. Faina leading some handstands. This one also happens to collect water in the low areas of the ripple. There's drainage, and the water is diverted to an underground cistern, and that water can be used for a nearby community garden. That was Duke up front. He's having fun. Some dirt. Next project. That's landscapes. We'll go back. So also the Ice Cave. That was for the Electricity Festival this past October. Again, a space to be inhabited by, if not the viewer, at least performers. So this is built on a trailer, meant to be moved around. A lot of the work recently also happens to be mobile that I'm working on, so that it's not, there's something nice about the energy that's implied within, an activated piece, a piece that has the potential to move. The Tsarinas of the Plain activating it. That was Chris Pottinger, one of the performing Kresge Fellows of last year. So this is at the festival. It was basically a portable stage. And we programmed 2 nights of entertainment, if you will. I think that might be, Space Band. So now this lives at Pop's Packing. And we will continue to program this as we have occasion. The main project I'm working on right now is the Squash House. Perhaps you've seen this fantastic still, which, by the way, James Caan and Graem Whyte. That's right. So this is myself and Habib, who's the next door neighbor. It's a heavily Bengali neighborhood. So squash is not, we're converting this house into a squash court, essentially, but it's also a community squash garden. So squash on 2 fronts. And the Bengali population grows insane amounts of different varieties of squash. So it's aimed at involving the neighborhood directly. It'll be kind of a neighborhood rec center, if you will. So we'll have hopefully a fall harvest open invitational classic party tournament thing. This is the house in its dilapidated state. There was a fire in there. We're having to replace the rear half of the roof. Because of that fire, we're removing the entire second floor. The entire front 3/4 of the house will be the court, and then the back third will be kind of a greenhouse atrium for year-long squash production, and the backyard will have a squash garden for community use as well. This is kind of a little rendering of the future, so replacing the roof, some of the new triangulations that you've come to know me for, I guess. And so that's kind of where I'm at. It's again, things are definitely participatory for me. I guess in addition, the other main thing I'm working on is Pops Packing, which, as Katie mentioned, is it's my home, it's my studio, it's a gallery, it's a residency program. It's a little bit of all of that. Is it art or my practice? Kind of, I guess. I don't know. But it's what I work on a lot. So, and that, I guess, is kind of, I guess it is an extension of my practice in that it itself is participatory in nature. It requires people to come and check out the artwork. My work is within the infrastructure of that. But there's also collaborative efforts that add to the whole thing. I don't have images of that here. I could go to the POP site, but you can do that too. Why don't we open it up for questions? Any comments? Anybody? Anything? What's next? Well, Squash House is going to take a bit. Like I said, we're hoping to get it done by fall, or at least playable by fall. It'll probably be actually spring before it's, say, 100% or even 90%. I have a show here at Review Contemporary in September, and a solo in New York at the Q Foundation in March of next year. So those are the main things. And there's a baby in September coming too. So it's we have a full schedule ahead. Yep. Oh, with the neighbors. I'm sorry, it's a little hard to hear. I think most of the neighborhood interaction so far, and it's been, we're still early in the reconstruction phase. With demo is mostly there. Most of the neighborhood interaction has been with the immediate neighbors. And I think they're pretty excited because it was a burnt out house and we're fixing it up. So ultimately, all right, we'll talk here. Hey, and more rain, refreshing. Other questions? Anybody? Yes. Chris? Yeah, we just got the fence up in the back for the back alley of the squash house, which was kind of the crucial first step to planting because the fence will double as a trellis system to allow the squash to grow up. So the fence was completed today, actually. The gate still has a little bit of work, but the fence itself is there, and we can plant. We'll probably plant, if not this weekend, early next week. Not yet. We've been, yeah, that's in the plan. We're going to look to some adoptive parents to kind of see it through for us. We can only go so far with it, and we want community involvement. So that's going to be a huge part of it. Yeah. So I think a lot of the work, and this one might be slightly tangential, but the Buckminster Fuller is obviously a huge influence of mine. Futurism, looking to the future, like you're saying, is definitely there. Trying to, it's almost utopic in a way, I guess, trying to put a positive spin on it, trying to imagine the best and brightest for all of us, right? So that's a big part of it. I think the other thing that it comes down to is systems, and you look at say a house, and like the squash house, and we're dealing with that system, a system as like a set of rules that we all kind of play by within that framework. So I think also that comes back to the game aspect. Is a game is basically a system. It's a set of rules. We live within it, and so I think it kind of serves as a metaphor for like reinventing those systems and how can we apply it to what we have, what we're working on right now. That was the other reason, actually, I put the Rollerball movie clip up, is because he was like a man in the system, he was like the star of the sports world, and he was just another little cog in the pie, so trying to use the system to subvert it was kind of the message there. But I think that's a big part of it is how can we reinvent the systems that we're given, because we're born into so many that we really kind of don't have a choice with. So can we work within that but still like push it forward and move it in a way that makes sense? I don't know if that answered your non-question. Okay. Aaron. The residency program at Pops. So last summer, we launched a residency program. I guess maybe it was informal before then. We had a Dutch artist in town, but he's a friend. He was just kind of helping out. Maybe that was the start. But so we have two different branches of that. One is a studio-based residency where artists can come in, stay with us. We have studio space for them. They make work, they exhibit or have a talk or whatever. And then we have the other branch is more project-based, and tends to be, or will tend to be, more architecturally geared. In fact, our next resident architect, how do you like to be referred to? We'll say architect. Michael Woody, he just got in about 2 hours ago. He'll be here for the summer with us. And so that's pretty exciting. And the project-based stuff kind of helps us with infrastructure at Pops, helping the space, but we're looking for experimental architecture and project-based work, so it will, we'll see how it turns out, we don't know, but that's what I like about it, is that it's open-ended. And it'll also kind of be inherently collaborative, because we, have ideas of things that we want or need around the compound, but somebody else will let somebody else kind of run with it. So, yeah, Michael. Oh, thanks. Yeah, and even with the RecPod here, I mean, the fact that it is mobile, and depending on where it sets up, rules may change, the game may change. I have somewhere here is a bunch of different balls, so later if anybody wants to play some dodge polo, we'll be up. It was for the opening, it was in the rear space, which is a little tighter. So that kind of affected the rules. But out here, it was able to change a little bit for Family Day. Had a little more space to stretch out. So the gaming aspect of it can change based on its location. I think for me, that's kind of a nice thing. You don't want, and mentioning the house rules, that there's like, maybe there is a house game with Squash House. We may have like the house game, but then there's also, what's your game? What do you come up with? And I think that's a huge part of it is, when we're kids and we got a tennis ball and a stick, and what are we going to do for the day? And you figure it out based on how many people are around and what curb you got and whose lawn you can play on or whatever. You come up with something. So I think a lot of this goes back to that, and just trying to as adults we get a little distracted, and it's nice to be able to reconnect with play in a lot of ways. And if you can do it through art, then it's win-win for me. Yeah.
Talking about play, thinking about situating the work, I don't know if I can play a question about comment, the importance of even Detroit, there seems to be like a focus on the community. I'm thinking of other artists like Gabriel, who's focused on ping pong or the water, or even circular pool table with no holes, or I'm thinking maybe like relational aesthetics, like coaxing museums and when it comes to beats, like the importance of with this. Do you think you'd be making this work if you weren't in Detroit, like you were somewhere else, or the importance of being in the area where you can buy abandoned houses, or just the fact that there's such a emphasis on community, it seems like. I don't know if you can just comment on that.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd be making the same work if I was in a different city. Probably not. I think that a lot of what I do, especially recently, within the past 3-4 years even, is based on, okay, what do I have and what can I do with it? It's about, we have a space in Hamtramck that's formerly kind of a warehouse space, originally meatpacking, but regardless, there's space, so I can store things if I need them. And a lot of friends, when they move out of town or they just come across material and they can't keep it, it comes to me because they know I'm a sucker for that crap. So, and then you start collecting stuff, and then after a while, somebody says, "Hey, you want to have a show?" And then you have to make something, and you look at what you got. So, I think, a lot of my work is a direct product of being here in Detroit. And you mentioned the house thing. That's obviously another thing. I think this is a pretty unique situation, and there's obviously a lot of foreclosure in the nation, but it's a little different here. And I don't know if other places have county auctions where you can get houses for $500. So I think that definitely plays into it a lot. I've done a few like mandala pieces. There's definitely even so actually there's a. We'll go back over here for a second. So here was a piece that meant to be a mandala where you can just kind of stare at and space out. There was actually a sound component that went with these. And this was You Are Here, Center of the Universe, so kind of a transmitter receiver. Just kind of a no matter where you're at is where you are, and that's the center of the universe for anybody's purposes. The other one, which was also at the Oakland show, was so this was this is the outside of this piece, this is the inside, so it's a mirrored chamber, meant to be kind of a room of reflection. It's a meditation room. Those are two examples of where the Zen aspect, I guess, comes into play. How it relates to, I guess it's about betterment, betterment of self, betterment of community. I guess a lot of the works touch on religion, for lack of a better word, if you will. But ultimately it comes down to how can we improve ourselves and our immediate surroundings. So I guess that's really the tie-in. Anybody else? Good? Hoo-ho? All right. Thanks, everybody.